Colin, we're here at Croft, a place where you have very fond memories.
Yeah, Croft, as you know, Simon, has always been a true happy hunting ground for me. From I came here racing Fiestas right through to the current day. It's somewhere that I've just clicked with and probably got the largest proportion of my BTCC wins here, and you know, through many different evolutions of BMW and other manufacturers I've driven for. Generally, I've always gotten a win here on a weekend, so love coming to Croft.
Right, we're going to take a little walk around the circuit and talk about some of those memories as we go along.
Cool, let's do it.
Colin, I'm going to take you back to the first win, and as you mentioned, most of your victories have come in a BMW, but your first win here, I believe, was in a Vauxhall in 2005.
Yeah, that's almost going back 20 years, isn't it? Just under. I think even before that, Simon, my first proper memory of Croft in a touring car was my first ever podium in 2002. Ironically, came here, I was third in the Team Atomic Kitten MG. And why I remember it so much was we had the podium at the end of the day at turn 1, but I don't ever remember having it again. So we had the podium celebrations at turn 1, and I think maybe David Leslie had won the race, and Alan Morrison was on the podium too. I think Paul O'Neill was knocking about somewhere on the skirt on the side. But yeah, so that was sort of my Croft account opened in a great way, and then obviously a few years later, my first win here in the Vauxhall. I think that might have been one of those wet races or 50-50 races from memory. But it's funny, you know, you build a bit of momentum at a circuit, you get a few good results, you get a few wins, and all of a sudden you look forward to going back there. But I think my sort of form book really started to open when we came here with the 3 Series BMW.
Yeah, of course. So we'll get onto that, of course. But obviously that MG, people now make your career is synonymous with BMW, but we all remember that MG. It was a classic story at the time, and then also that VXR. You know, Vauxhall were that manufacturer at the time, so that was a huge opportunity for you to drive them at the time.
Massively. I was, you know, I was in the plum seats on the grid, or certainly one of the plum seats, you know, alongside Ivan Muller, you know, one of the best British touring car drivers, you know, there's ever been. So, you know, I was really fortunate in that early career, you know, been alongside drivers like Anthony Reid, Ivan Muller, Warren Hughes, you know, guys with, you know, huge amounts of experience, and I could just soak it all up. So you learn something different off everybody. But yeah, getting that first win was probably a key moment.
Let's move on and talk about some of the other ones coming up.
Okay.
Colin, we're going to move on to what can only be described as a real purple patch. 2008 and 2009, first of all, double victories, and it ended obviously in a season where you won your first title.
Yeah, the E90, the RAC BMW that everybody remembers, loved this circuit. You know, from we brought it here the first time, I think that car was made for this track. And you know, Croft has been resurfaced in the past, feels like past 2-3 years, but you know, back then it was bumpy, it was abrasive. The front wheel drive cars hated it, you know, because they could probably only live with this for a couple of laps, and you know, the front tires would really degrade, whereas the BMW would hang on. And yeah, I remember coming here 2008, 2009, and yeah, 2 double wins. So you know, that completely you know, launches any sort of championship campaign. Then you know, shifting forward, you know, quite a few years, then we brought the 1 Series BMW here. It was the same result. 2013, 1 Series was a new car then, and I remember the first sort of few events in the season, we were just struggling to get it working. You know, it was the whole new suspension system, and it wasn't until we brought the car here that it clicked. And can't quite remember, but I had an issue in qualifying, which curtailed most of my session. So my qualifying session was literally the last 5 minutes, but I was able to go out, bang, pole position, win 2 races, and I think that was the weekend where I had 3 podiums, 2 wins and a second from memory. I think maybe Rob Collard or Nick Foster potentially could have won the 3rd race. and the same again in 2014, you know, banging another 2 wins, and that was the year of my second championship. So yeah, the wins kept coming, and then somebody came up with this genius idea that I was the king of Croft. So
I don't know
it
who
definitely
that was.
wasn't self-proclaimed.
No,
somebody
it
else.
wasn't. It was probably me, to be fair.
Yeah. So that puts a bit of extra pressure on every time you come to this venue. But yeah, it just kept getting better for me.
But just going back to those 2 classic cars again, obviously the RAC livery, then the eBay livery with the 1 Series, and as you say, from a WSR point of view, preparation is key. But that 1 Series, it was late, wasn't it, for 2013? And as you say, it came alive here, and that kicked that car on to become a title-winning success. So it wasn't just about that weekend, was it? It really it propelled the car on as well.
Yeah, it really did. You know, we struggled the early part of that season. You know, we had really good weekends here. Then left Croft, went to Knockhill, another strong weekend. You know, the characteristics of both these circuits, you know, technical, a lot of sort of slow medium speed corners. You know, you're using the traction of the car, perfectly suits the BMW. So, you know, again, that 2013 season, having those couple of good weekends, next thing I know, I'm going into the Brands final as a contender, you know, as a serious contender that year. So yeah, really good memories.
Brilliant. Let's move on to the next one.
Cool.
Colin, moving on, your most recent victory just happened here just last season.
Yeah, last year was race 3 win on the hard tyre, and it was an incredibly difficult race. The track conditions, I remember, were really poor. From the race before, there was a lot of oil down, there was a lot of cement dust through the first sector. So starting in pole, of course, makes the job a bit easier, but you know, the people like Tom Ingram and Josh Cook around me, so it's going to be a tough race. But survived the first lap, got my head down, and was able to pull away. You know, as we saw before, if you can get to the front of the pack, you know, it's easier to lead, and you know, the car performs well in clean air. So, you know, it was nice to really nice to add another win to my account. You know, but one other memory I had was coming here actually the year before, 2022. I had just off the back of a massive shunt at Oldham Park, which many people will remember, and coming out of the island hairpin, you know, myself and Dan Lloyd, I think Ricky Collard maybe kicked the whole thing off, but my car was written off. So Croft was only 2 weeks later. So, you know, the team basically, you know, worked night and day to, you know, give me a brand new car, and I had to work sort of night and day to put myself back together, because, you know, I was suffering really, you know, physically and mentally a bit from, you know, from the incident. And I remember doing the shakedown on the Friday evening, and sort of my first time back in the car since the crash, and I just wasn't feeling it, you know, because my body had been in self-preservation mode for 2 weeks. You know, it's sort of been through trauma and didn't want to know anything about a race car. So, you know, through free practice, I just had to, you know, play my way back in, just go out and just keep doing laps, and, you know, get a little bit quicker, and just get my confidence back in the car. And, you know, time come to qualify, and bang, I got it on pole, and it was, you know, probably one of the biggest moments in my career that I felt, because, you know, I'd never felt you know, frightened to get in a race car before, but I did that weekend. I just you know, wasn't feeling comfortable, wasn't feeling safe because of, you know, what had happened. But you know, it was a great moment to get pole, and I think I'd broken my own qualifying lap record back from that 2014 lap. So it was nice to sort of nudge the bar a bit further. So, but yeah, let's hope this weekend I can keep adding to the account in some respect. You know, whether it's poles or podiums or wins. You know, wins are great. So yeah, that's what I'm aiming for.
As you say, as a driver, you know, people will often look at wins or moments that have led to championships, but it's great that you give us that insight from 2022, because for a driver sometimes it's very different. It might be a 6th place or a 3rd place, like you said, your first podium here. Sometimes it's not always the wins or the stories behind the wins, isn't it?
It is, yeah. There's many moments over a race weekend. You know, not necessarily, as you said, being on the podium. You know, you drive some of your best races, you know, you maybe finish 5th or 6th, you know, you've just been under so much pressure, you're not on the right strategy, the car's not feeling good, but, you know, you've delivered the result, got the points, and, you know, that's ultimately how championships are won.
But looking at that record, it is 14 race wins. It's the most of any driver in a single circuit in the VTC. You must be hugely proud about that.
Well, I am. Yeah, I'm not done yet. So, so yeah, 14 wins. Let's say 14 wins and counting.
Perfect. Sounds good to me.